All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Out of This World podcast. I am your host, Matthew J. Ha, and hopefully audio and video is working well using a different platform today, using Google Meet for our special guest requested. So I wanted to accommodate our guest, of course. Before I introduce him, let's get all the boring logistic stuff out of the way, guys. As you can see here on the screen, Out of This World podcast is available all over these platforms: Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, Amazon, iHeartRadio. It's not your ordinary podcast, as you can see here, as we discuss many topics from supernatural, mysteries, archaeology, history, astronomy, crime, conspiracies, cryptozoology, UFOs, astrology. We have many topics. We cover everything under the kitchen sink, pretty much. Please subscribe, that little icon bell at the top corner of the YouTube channel. We are up to 33 subscribers. I want to thank all your subscribers for tuning into the show every week. The last couple of weeks have not done a live show. We had a death in the family, and of course we had to reschedule our last guest. Guys, but we try to be live every Thursday night between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, we accommodate our guests whenever we can. Like today, we're doing a special at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. It's actually 8 p.m. in Italy time, because our guest is from Italy, so it's going to be really exciting to have this guest on for everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and go to our next slideshow here as I introduce our guest to everybody today. Guys, Nicola Bizzi is a writer, lecturer, and columnist and publisher. He was born in Stockholm, Sweden on February 17th, 1972. He graduated in history at the University of Florence. He has been studying and researching ancient mysteries and religious traditions of the Mediterranean area for many years. He is the founder and owner of Edzionia, if I say that, Edzioni, sorry if I botched that, Aurora Boreal, publishing house for which he is responsible for the Telestrion and the House of Wisdom series, which about mystery and initiatory study for the Politi. I'm bad in Italian, guys, so just bear with me. Which deals with political and economic international studies, and of course Nicola can correct me on any of that, of course. He's also founded the magazine Azier and Novum Imperium, which has been editorial director for several years. And he's the dean and center for Elysianian studies and Mauritanian cultures of Sadira, Tau 8 professor at the Mother School in Florence, and holder of Chair of Mystery and Traditional Cult in the Free Italian University of Esoteric Studies in Lech, if I have that correctly. He is also a member of the Mother Order of Traditional Italian Masonic Order, which is really cool, and the Sacred Ecumenical Templar Equestrian Order. Okay, that was a lot to spit out. Again, my apologies. I'm not Italian. Hopefully, I did him justice, and I'm gonna bring in our guest. He also has books out on ancient mysteries, ancient origins of gods, and all kinds of mysteries. I'm going to just go back here really quick. The Ark of Gabriel and the Secrets of Antarctica, The Origin of the Gods and the Universe. I'm going to order those books myself because I'm really fascinated of that material and things he writes about. So, without further delay, Mr. Nicola Bizzi, thank you for coming on to Out of This World podcast. I hope I didn't do an ugly job on pronouncing some of those things on your biography.
Hi, Matthew. Thank you so much for the invitation and hello to everybody.
Great. So, tell our audience a little bit about yourself, how you got started, what was your like initial, well, this is what I want to do, because overall you're a historian of all these things, and history is great, especially in the Mediterranean and everything you cover there. Is so much to cover. Like there's so much history like dates back to like the beginning of time. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
It's not so easy to speak about myself.
Sure.
I will try to do it.
Sure.
History is my great love. I, I love history since I was a child. Maybe because my grandfather was an historian. Uh, when I was a child, he taught me many things, and in particular, he uh, made me love archaeology. I live in Florence, in Italy. In Tuscany, we had a very ancient civilization, the Etruscan civilization. It was more ancient than the Roman, was one of the first Italian ancient civilizations. And I had the opportunity to visit many archaeological sites just all around my town. So I grew up with this big love for history and archaeology. Then I decided to study archaeology at university. I graduated in ancient history, and I started to write books, to write articles. I had collaborations with many journals, newspaper, magazines, and I started to write also books. Then, about 15 years ago, I decided to be independent in the field of books. So I decided to make a publishing house. A publishing house where only I decide what is interesting to publish without censorship, without asking anything to anybody. For me, freedom and independence are on the top of my life. And my love for history have taught me that history is all fake. We should rewrite again all the human history. When I was at university, I always had problems with professors, with teachers, because I asked many questions, too many questions. And the professor often told me, "You are not wrong, but you don't have to ask me this. It's not politically correct to ask these questions." Why? There is something unpolitically correct in archaeology, in history. This is the reality. All the university, all the field, the university field in all the world is the same. They teach a falsified history. The human civilization on Earth is very, 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 very ancient. Today we can find all over the world pieces, traces, fragments of precedent civilizations. Ancient civilizations that disappeared in big catastrophes, in cometary impacts, and many, many, many other different phenomena. We can find civilization in geological fields, ancient millions of years. I know that in California, for example, in gold mines,
Right.
last century or 200 years ago, were found many, many, many artifacts in gold mines or in coke mines. The coke
Yes.
is a mineral that has about 300 millions of years.
Wow.
Who was living on Earth at this time? We don't know. But we can be sure that there were many, many different civilizations before us.
Yeah. That I totally agree with that. Yeah, and there's a lot of civilizations, like you said, disappeared from many phenomena that we have no understanding of. We're still researching today as to the disappearances of these civilizations. Some have theories, that the ancient astronauts, they call themselves these type of researchers. They debate, what happened to them, whether it be famine or some kind of disease, or was there a war, or something that drove these people away. Whatever the case may be, it definitely was the most mysterious thing, because they don't have 100% evidence as to what happened to these people. Like, for example, what really fascinates me about these ancient civilizations is that for the majority of them built all these amazing ruins and temples and pyramids, and they were so smart with astrology and the constellation of the stars and how things aligned with the sun and the planets and all that stuff. Is who taught these people this information? Where did they get this information from? Because we didn't have historians like yourself back then. So who taught them?
Is what I try every day to discover.
Yeah.
We don't have all the answers, but we have to ask many questions. If we put every day new questions, maybe we can find some answer.
Yeah.
All the ancient peoples in Mediterranean, in America, in Asia, had very sophisticated knowledge about astronomy, about geometry, mathematics. They knew very well the exactly dimensions of our world, the circumference of the Earth, the distance between the Earth and the Sun, the Earth and the Moon. Probably because these peoples receive these informations from a precedent civilization. About 15 years ago, there was a real scientific revolution, but newspaper and TV didn't talk about this.
Okay.
it was found the proof that 12,800 years ago, our planet was impacted by a comet. The world was there was the glacial era for many thousand years. But around 12,000 years ago, the world was becoming warmer. But something happened. Exactly 12,800 years ago, a big comet or fragments of a big comet impacted in North America. All North America, all Canada and the northern part of the United States was covered by ice. It was the low-rated ice I don't know exactly the word, the ice cover.
I'm with you.
This ice was deep somewhere 3 kilometers. This comet impact destroyed anything. And all this ice became water in a few days. All North America was destroyed by millions of square kilometers of mud, water, rocks from Canada to Mexico. And this comet impact make start the so-called Younger Dryas, a short glacial era that ended exactly 1,600 years ago. The same date mentioned by Plato in his dialogues, his famous dialogues, where he speaks about the history of Atlantis, Imeo and Crisia. What happened in this moment? Probably the Earth was impacted by new fragments of a comet. This time, these fragments impacted not in North America, but in the center of Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean. The scientists have found nanodiamonds, very small diamonds that were produced by the impact of the comet. And these microscopic diamonds were found all over Mediterranean, in Syria, in Egypt, in North Africa, in Turkey. And the big problem was that with the end of this Younger Dryas, the level of the sea grew up not in one century or in 2 centuries, but in 10 or 20 years, about 130 meters. The level of all the seas, of all the oceans in the world, grow up in maximum 20 years for 130 meters. This was the end of 90% of the civilization. Because usually the civilizations born on the coast, on the sea coast.
Right.
All the sea coast were submerged by the water.
Right.
with tsunami, earthquakes, volcanoes explosions, and probably the sky totally black, full of powder,
Mm.
ashes
Yeah, the ash, right.
for many, many, many years.
Wow.
And this determined the impossibility of to cultivate the ground.
Mm.
Agriculture died for centuries, and the civilization started again. Started again with few people, only people that had the opportunity to refuge on the mountains.
Mm.
This is something real, but is totally removed from our history books,
Right,
in
right.
schools, in universities.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about like we are making discoveries all the time, and we're rewriting history quite frequently because what we thought about, Exhibit A, is now Exhibit Z because it erases like what we thought before because of what things we found now. Because technology is getting better, our research is getting better, our knowledge of the earth and these ancient civilizations are getting better. And there's actually a show, I don't know if you're familiar with it, to kind of give more credence to what you're discussing. A show called Mystery at Blind Frog Ranch, which is in Utah in North America, and they
Yeah.
they are discovering uranium on their property, which is evidence of a impact of a comet, and they believe that there could have been an impact there, which would explain the uranium, because that's not like completely natural. I mean, even though it's natural deposit uranium, but it's not like nobody of man put it there. So it was like from the comet, like from what impacted that area. So that's just to put credence to what you were saying about the comet, hitting North America and then causing all of that influx of life.
I saw a video about 2 weeks ago. It was an American video. In this video was shown something very, very, very strange found in Montana. In Montana, in a private field, was found a very big and very long wall. A wall long kilometers, miles, about 20 meters high, composed by perfect stone blocks. Who built it?
Yeah.
Surely an advanced civilization, very ancient.
Yeah. Yeah, and like my question is, like I'm a believer in God. I don't want to bring up religion too much on a personal level, but who put these people here? Like, how did they get here? What started their civilizations before all this? Like that's what's discussed like today is like because there's no evidence of like how their journey started. You know what I mean?
Hmm, it's not so easy.
Yeah, no.
No, I think we have to read very, very well ancient texts. in all ancient literature, not only the Greek and the Roman, the literature of Near East, but also in the traditions, in the religious traditions of all the people, the ancient people and the native peoples, we can find the same informations. There is the memory of the big catastrophe, a big flood, a flood that is still today in our ancestral memory. It's impossible to delete this memory.
Right.
Because it was something so strong.
Yeah.
Or who survived this time.
Yeah.
So in all religious traditions, in all legends, we can find information about this flood. Where every country has a Noah with different names, but this man did the same thing. All these men were the favorite of some god, a god that advised them that something terrible was coming,
Yeah.
a big catastrophe, and teach them to build a big ark, a big ship,
Yep.
and to save all what was possible to save, animals, but in particular the human genetic, to make survive humanity.
Yeah, no, it's great you brought that up because actually, my last show that I was doing for Out of This World podcast, a guest that I'm going to reschedule later in the year, basically his research, Andrew Jones, he's a researcher of Noah's Ark. He's got a website. He's got a website if you like to check it out sometime. I believe it's noahsarkscans.com. They've done satellite imagery of 3D imagery from satellite technical equipment that they use to possibly discover the location of Noah's Ark. They've been carbon dating, finding material on the location, at the location where they had their discovery, and they've got so many samples to go through, but the data is very revealing because it kind of is connecting and linking all the dates to around that time period, and if you think about it, Nikolai, like basically, this would rewrite history as we know it, because if we were to prove the actual existence of Noah's Ark, that it's not just a metaphor, it's not just a story in our Bible or in our ancient texts that we all were taught, like if that would change the world.
Yes, yes.
So it'd be like, that's not just a story, it actually happened.
You can imagine that there are powers, secret powers, that don't want to change history, don't want to rewrite history.
Yeah.
Because if we rewrite history, we have to ask something about ourselves, who we are, from where we come, and of course where we go. But somebody, some organization, some secret society try to cover our origin. I'm sure that the humanity has many potentialities. We could live 100 years. We could communicate with our mind.
Mm-hmm.
But someone, I don't know who, probably some ancient organization, worked on our DNA to block many of our possibilities. And the big secret of our origins, I think, is the most dangerous secrets in history.
Yeah.
Because probably mankind, humanity, has not the same origin. The Sumerian tradition,
Mm-hmm.
but officially born in Iraq, in Mesopotamia, around 6,000 years ago, had a history of almost 30,000 years of precedent history.
Right.
In our myths, in their myths, in their legends, they talk about the Anunnakis, these gods, or probably aliens,
Yeah.
coming from Nibiru.
Not to interrupt you real quick, but you're actually almost reading my mind because I was going to bring that up.
Their gods, we can read in their text,
Right.
were coming from Nibiru, a mysterious planet outside of the solar system. They arrived on the Earth around 400,000 years ago. And they started to find gold. I don't know why, but they were interested in gold. For them, gold was very important.
Yeah.
And they started to extract the gold from the earth. 200,000 years later, there was the first strike of the history. The Igigi, the gods not without the rule, without the power.
Right.
The gods, the Anunnakis, that were excavating the gold in mines, organized the first strike. They decided to stop the work. We don't want to work anymore for you. So the Anunnakis decided to create somebody that would be able to work in the mines.
Mm.
The god Enki and the goddess Ninmah, called Ninhursag in the Akkadian text, decided to organize some, just like a genetic experiment, creating the Homo sapiens.
That's where we come in. 'Cause we were the enslaved ones. Right?
In fact, Homo sapiens appears mysteriously, not only in Africa, all over the world, about 200,000 years ago. And the scientists can't explain how it was possible. Because precedently there was the Homo erectus that was intelligent, surely.
Nice.
Was able to work wood or stone, but had a cerebral mass very, very, very small. mysteriously appeared a new man with a very big cerebral mass, with intelligence, with the ability to build instruments, with symbolic thinking, with the possibility to produce art, music, with the possibility to dream, to teach history to his sons. Something incredibly new. And modern science can't explain this.
Yeah, no, you can't.
All the ancient religious traditions talk about the creation, not evolution.
And yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Ananukai. Did I say that correctly? Right? How do you say it again? Ananuki.
Hmm?
Ananukai. No.
Sorry, I didn't hear well.
Oh, okay. No, I'm glad you brought up Ananukai, because there's many people, again, the ancient astronaut researchers. There's a theory of the Great Sphinx and the pyramids, that they had harnessed a way of harnessing power, with the pyramids. That
Yes,
you know
yes,
it
yes.
had many uses, not just not just like with astrology and the stars and the alignment of planets, but it was also a, a machine, if you will, to have produce light and electricity. 'Cause there are some evidence of like tools and artifacts that they discovered that they don't know what they are, but they're debating if that could be related to something of that. Also, in the Sphinx, they discuss, there was a secret room. I remember years ago
Mhm.
they had a television show, of archaeologists. They were going to open a secret door that they discovered, and just mysteriously at the end of the show, when they were going to open it up and see what's inside, the show ended. Nobody knows what happened to the ending of the show. I mean, we can speculate. Maybe they didn't want the truth to be out in public. Maybe they didn't want them to find out what was inside that secret room. But there's many discussions to, that there could be ancient texts, or a library of information that date
Mhm.
all those things that you just spoke of, that could be, hosting that information that you brought up. I think that would be so amazing to go through all that and expose that, because again, we've only just like hit the tip of the iceberg on our origin, and
Yes,
even
yes,
though
yes.
there's a lot there, but there's still so much to learn, and I don't understand why they would keep such things such a secret. You know?
I'm sure there are secret organizations that want to keep the secret
Yeah.
because this secret is linked to economy, to politics, to all the construction of our society. All is linked. Many archaeological discoveries were hidden again without giving information to public. But now we live in a historical moment. It's a very particular era, this one where we are living. This moment is very particular. I think many things are going to change. This year there was a very important discovery about Egypt, about the Giza Great Pyramid,
Yeah.
and the second pyramid of the Giza Plain, the Khafre Pyramid. This discovery in few days became very popular all over the world. I saw many American videos talking about this discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Corrado Malanga is an Italian scientist. He was teaching chemistry in a university in Pisa. He started to work with an Egyptologist. His name is Biondi. This Egyptologist used a particular radar technology linked to a satellite. Satellite technology. I am not an engineer. I don't know exactly how it works. But this technology is able to map exactly the ground until 100 meters.
Mm.
The scientists use this technology for volcanoes, for example, to analyze the volcanoes deeper. And they use this technology in Giza, in Egypt. Not only were found many unknown cameras in the big pyramid, but under the Khafre pyramid, they found something very incredible, something difficult to imagine. First thing, inside the Khafre pyramid, there are about 5 towers. 5 towers not made by the same stone of the pyramid, but in granite. We don't know the exact function of these towers, but I'm sure that the pyramids were not graves, but energetic machines.
Right.
They surely had an energetic function. But what they found under the ground is something incredible. Under this pyramid, there are 8 pillars, 8 giant pillars, regular, like more than 600 meters, with a sort of stair inside. And at the base of these pillars, we found something unknown, something very difficult to describe, but are like boxes or giant structures, 80 meters for 80 meters. Cubes, perfect cubes, probably made of rocks.
It was that made of the same material, granite? Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
I think it's not something human.
No. Well, it's funny because, well, not funny, but I don't know if you've heard of the famous Egyptologist, Dr. Zahi Hawass. I know him. I've interviewed him in the past. He's a great archaeologist of Egypt, and he's also in charge of the museum there. But when that came out in public, in the news, when they made that discovery, the first thing that he says is they didn't have permission to do this kind of work there. They weren't on site, and well, they didn't have to be on site to use that technology to make these discoveries. So they didn't need his permission or their permission, really. I'm not quite sure, like logistically, like how they would go about that. I'm sure because it's kind of like an independent researcher kind of thing. So, but of course, right away he puts it down, and I wish Dr. Zahi would be just a little more open-minded, especially since with all the discoveries that he's made himself, with all the sarcophagus and tombs that he's unearthed over recent years, especially recently. I would just wish he would be like, yeah, like why couldn't that be a possibility of that being like real? Why do they have to always like put it down or come up with a skeptic way of saying that no, they didn't have permission, so it's not real. It just that kind of drives me crazy as a person who appreciates that kind of thing, because the amount of data and technology that went into that, you can't just take that away from people who did that. It's like, I think it was a great discovery. It's a big discovery.
The problem is political.
Yeah,
Yes, ideological and political. Zaki Hawass is a good archaeologist,
yeah,
but he has the keeper of the power.
yeah,
Is the gatekeeper for excellence of the archaeological power.
yeah,
He has a lot of
yeah.
power.
But we're the key masters.
Yes.
Go ahead.
He's the doorkeeper, the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
And he must tell always the same things. He decided what is good to tell to people,
Right.
and what is better to don't tell.
Yeah.
There was a very, very serious and intelligent Egyptologist about 90 years ago, Salim Hassan. He was Egyptian. Salim Hassan, around 78 years ago, discovered in Giza an underground world, tunnels everywhere, underground temples, ancient structures all around, all under the ground. He wrote books about these discoveries, but today nobody speak about the discoveries of Salim Hassan. People has a short memory. People don't read books.
Yeah.
And listen to much TV.
Yeah. I know I do. Yeah, I need to read more.
It's the same everywhere.
Yeah.
In the United States, there is a great author.
Yeah.
I like him so much.
Yeah.
Michael Cremo. Michael Cremo wrote a revolutionary book, Forbidden Archaeology.
Nice.
His book, I think this book should be read in every school in a normal world.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Like what saddens me is like to our schools today, like especially by I don't know about Europe and other countries, but here they don't really refer back to a certain date of history. They only start at a certain time and like discuss they only cover certain things and certain timeline. Like I guess you would say like the basics, like they just discuss the basics. But there's really,
Yes.
unless you go to college or university to go a little deeper into that kind of history and study that, I think you would have to get more hands-on experience with archaeology to order to understand more, of the in-depth of the things that we talk about so far during this interview, which I'm like, my brain feels like it's out to here right now.
All the history right, but
Yeah,
in particular the history of America.
yeah,
In the United States, there is the Smithsonian Institution
mm-hmm,
that cover many, many, many discoveries everywhere. All what is not politically correct
yeah, yeah, definitely,
is hidden, and nobody has to speak about it. They cover graves of giants, bones of giants, discovered everywhere in the United States. President Lincoln, one day in front of Niagara Falls, had a very interesting speech. He, he was speaking about American politics, but he said exactly this word. We have to thank, we have to thank so much the ancient people, the ancient peoples that were living here before us, in particular the giants, which bones are possible to find everywhere in our country. Incredible words. He was speaking about the giants in public.
yeah. The Giants are a thing. They recently, in the last 10 years or so, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I believe it was in Massachusetts, like North Massachusetts, where they discovered the evidence of
Mhm.
giant bones, and they again they kind of like canceled the show. There was these two researchers, or I don't know if they were historians or archaeologists. I'm not sure what their background was because the show was only on very briefly. But again, it was like as if somebody in the background didn't want it to be publicized, because they wanted to expose their discovery of giants, that there were giants on Earth, like in North America here, and they're also discovering bones all across other countries, in Europe and elsewhere.
Yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
but like we said before, again, they're hiding it. They want to bury that, like literally.
Yes, in archaeology it's forbidden to speak about giants, about precedent civilizations, and in particular, the American history is falsified because they deleted completely the ancient connections between America and Mediterranean, America and Europe. America and the old world were strictly connected 1,000 years ago.
Yeah,
I wrote a book about it. I'm going to show you.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Soon I will translate it into English. This is in Italian.
Oh, okay.
The Minoans in America and the memories of the lost civilizations.
Nice.
This is something incredible, but it's real.
Yeah.
In northern Michigan, in the Great Lakes started the Mediterranean Bronze Age. In the north of Michigan State, in particular on an island called Ile Royale, with this French name, there is the most pure copper in the world. This island is made of copper.
Wow.
It's an incredible sight. When the first colonies from Europe arrived there, French colonies, 400 years ago, they found many mines, tunnels, excavated by somebody 1,000 years ago. They asked to native peoples, the Algonquins that were living there, who excavated these tunnels.
Yeah.
The Algonquins answered, not we, but in our legends, in our mythology, we know that people, an ancient people with dark hair coming across the ocean, went here to excavate copper. They arrived with ships on the St. Lawrence River. And they transported these rocks full of copper to Europe. And around this island, in all this area, or in the north of Michigan, were discovered many Minoan inscriptions. Minoan and with characters typical from the island of Cyprus.
Wow.
Also Minoan sculptures, but all these things were hidden, covered.
Yeah.
Somebody don't want to let know to the people the real history of the connections between America and Europe.
Right.
In the Grand Canyon was found an Egyptian town more than 100 years ago.
Wow.
This was on all American newspaper at this time. And now, the area where was found this underground Egyptian town is military.
Wow.
Is forbidden to enter. Is military territory.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Also, Chinese went to America many times before Columbus. In California, were found Ming Chinese ceramics everywhere. Also, Chinese ships found in the bottom of the sea.
Right. That's amazing.
Many things must be right.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like there's even proof of the Vikings. Yeah, the Vikings and the connection between them and the Knights Templar, the Knights of which I'm sure you're familiar with, the Knights of Minolta, which were descendants of the Knights Templar, and that they collaborated coming to the North America. I believe like way before Columbus days. So that was many, like thousands of years ago. So like they, to me, like, all right, yeah, Native Americans were here, but they discovered them first, you know.
Nobody discovered America because everybody in the past knew America.
Yeah.
All the people, all the ancient people knew America.
Right, right.
Also Plato, for example, Plato, in his dialogue Timeo, when he speaks about the islands of
Yeah.
Atlantis,
Mm-hmm.
he speaks about Atlantis. And he says, after Atlantis, there is a big sea and a big continent in New America. Also the Phoenicians from Lebanon, from the Middle East, they arrived to Brazil, they arrived everywhere. The Vikings and the Knight Templars were only the last ones which arrived in America.
Right.
Also from Florence. The Medici family, I wrote a book about it.
Nice.
The Medici family knew about America from the Chinese Ming dynasty.
Yeah.
And they organized an expedition of 7 ships to America in exactly 50 years before the first travel of Columbus.
Wow. That's interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
50 years.
Wow.
And they arrived in the Gulf of St. Lawrence River, July 4, remember this date, July 4, 1442. 50 years before Columbus traveled.
Yeah. Wow.
And in Italy, in Freemasonry and in other esoteric organizations, we think that the real meaning of 4th July could be this.
Wow. Interesting, and that's interesting how we get, you know, obviously, of course, we have America's celebration of Independence Day of 4th of July also,
Yes.
and how that kind of like connects. Yeah. Yep. So, just real quick, let me just intervene here if I can just for a second. So if those are watching us live right now, guys, we are with author and historian Nicola Bizzi. We're discussing a lot of like information about ancient civilizations, ancient origins of gods, and you know, all really great stuff. Like I'm just like in my glory right now, being kind of like a historian myself, because I love this stuff, and I feel like I'm a kid, like you know, in a history class, learning a lot from our guest here today. And I'm very happy to have him here. You know, that he accommodated, you know, to be on this show while he's living in Italy. So he's in Italy and we're here in New York. So it's great that we can connect like that. But you know, real quick, guys, if you have any questions, you know, feel free to shoot me a text in the chat. We have a little chat on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, you know, you can comment under there. If you have a question for me or our guest, feel free. You know, let us know how the audio is. If you guys are having trouble understanding either one of us, you know, if there's any technical issues, let me know. Just shoot me a message real quick if you don't mind. Sometimes we cannot listen while we are live on the show, because if we do that, we'll have terrible reverb. We don't want to do that to our audience. Believe me, you don't want to hear terrible noises in the background. It's bad enough that we have to, you know, have all these good things to have the show run really good and smooth. So just want to throw that in there real quick. His bio, just real quick, guys. just want to direct everybody to this website quick, ancient-origins.net. If you guys go there, you can read a little bit of background about Nicola Bizzi and the books that he wrote and articles that he wrote there. There's a lot of cool things on here. Want more on ancient origins of gods, and they have like treasure hunt here. They have Greek mythology. We talked about Plato a little bit before, which is great because that one of the guests I had not that long ago, we also talked about Plato and his works with discovering Atlantis. He mentions Atlantis, and this gentleman, Robert Ishoy, who I had on Out of This World podcast, discussed a thesis that he had that the existence of Atlantis was a real civilization. Again, I want to bring that up real quick, if you don't mind, Nicola.
Yeah.
So Atlantis was also, as I discussed with historian Robert Ishoy, is that civilization apparently was allegedly so advanced. I believe it was also nicknamed the City of Gold because they were also very flourished in gold as well. So their city was very glittery in gold and silver, and it was like one of those like rich civilizations. And I think they got greedy. I think that's the gist of things, is that they got a little too greedy, and I think a war happened, and I don't know, there's still a mystery as to what happened to them, but maybe a flood, and somebody wasn't happy, and they mysteriously disappeared. And of course there's a lot of debate as to where Atlantis is. I believe there's some that believe it's off the coast of Italy, by you actually. I think Sardinia, if I have the name of the island correctly, right?
Sardinia?
Sardinia, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure you're familiar with that.
It's so beautiful. I'll be there July 24 to speak about one of my books in Cagliari.
Nice. Yeah, what's your thoughts on their discovery so far on Atlantis? Do you think that that Sardinia is the place?
Sardinia was the place of a great civilization.
Yeah.
In Mediterranean, there were many different civilizations, but in particular, one, the megalithic civilization that was common of all Eastern Europe. This civilization born and grew up on the Atlantic coast. Probably was coming from Atlantis, probably. They built enormous structures with giant stone blocks. They had astronomic knowledge, mathematics, geometric. They knew perfectly all the planets of the solar system. And they used a measure unit calculated by the cycles of the planet Venus. This measure unit was discovered by a Scottish archaeologist last century. And the name of this measure unit is megalithic yard. The megalithic yard is a fraction of the Earth's circumference and was calculated with the cycles of the planet Venus. It's something incredible. This civilization was the first European civilization for many, many, many thousand years. And they colonized all Mediterranean. Another important civilization was the Minoan in Crete. I wrote this book, this is in English,
Nice.
Ancestral Knowledges. The Minoan legacy of ancient Greeks shines.
Nice.
In this book, I explain how all the Greek knowledge was originally from the Minoan civilization, a very, very advanced civilization that was in connection with the megalithic civilization. It was the same culture because they used the same measure unit, the megalithic yard. All what came, the problem is the absence of writings. We are not able to translate the Minoan language. The linear A is technically called so. The archaeologists traduced the Mycenaean language, so-called linear B, that was a kind of ancient Greek language, but are not able to produce the Minoan language. So we don't have direct informations from this culture. All the archaeological discoveries speak the measures, the magnificence of the buildings. The Colosso Palace is something incredible. I visited many times. It was a city, not a palace, a real city with thousands of rooms, gardens, streets. The island of Santorini that was destroyed with the volcanic explosion 1,600 years before Christ, had buildings 15, 20 meters high.
Wow.
With water in every apartment. Something modern.
Yeah.
There are so many things to say.
No, I know. Like, what amazes me about these ancient civilizations is how strategically they created their environment, and like how they lived, and the temples, how the stones are so like perfectly aligned, how straight they are, like how symmetric they are, and again, mathematically, how smart these people were. My question is, which I know nobody has the answer to today of this very question. There's some universities that speculate, but it's speculation of how they were able to put these, how they built them.
In ancient times, every human building was a mirror of the sky. Every human construction, every human temple or human city was the sky on earth, a mirroring of the sky. The stars were so important for these people, so they decided to mirror the sky on the earth. And they had architectonic techniques so sophisticated. Probably they knew a sonic technology able to reduce the gravity. This is something some archaeologists has hypothesized. But they also use the same architectonic technique in South America, just like in Mediterranean or in Middle East. The same kind of stones. And a French scientist about 20 years ago proved, for example, that in ancient Egypt they use a sort of beton to build pyramids. They were able to liquefy the stone to put this special beton in wood boxes.
Okay.
To realize perfectly blocks of rocks.
Right.
When this beton became strong. This kind of beton was discovered also in Bosnia, the Balkans, in Visoko, where were discovered the ancient pyramids in the world. A Bosnian archaeologist, Semir Osmanagic, I know him very well, he discovered 5 pyramids. Pyramids 30,000 years old.
Wow.
Incredible. Incredible.
I mean, like, how much further back can we go? It's
I've
like,
been there about 10 years ago.
yeah,
It's an incredible site and is the most important archaeological site in the world now.
yeah,
Archaeologists from all over the world came there every year for the excavation, and they found also tunnels for kilometers under the ground.
wow,
Made by a civilization that we don't know.
yeah. It's crazy. That's just crazy, you know. There was also there was some theories about I don't know what your thoughts on this, but that they also maybe used telepathy because back then they didn't have like what adults have like today, like work stress, and they had like more access to their part of their brain so that they could access this telepathy and part of their brain to exercise this technology, which
Yeah.
there are some people who talk about that.
We don't know.
Yeah,
We have to be sure that we don't know anything.
yeah,
We supposed to know anything. We suppose to be a technological civilization.
yeah,
We build bridges, we bridge towns, highways, but we don't know anything about our history.
I know.
You have to keep in mind always this simple thing. We don't know anything about our ancient history.
No. And that's like the number one question in the world is like where did we get this from? you know so yeah, I get it. What is, all right, let me ask you some. All right, we got into a lot of stuff there. What's your favorite part of history as a historian? What's your most focused as far as on a personal level? What fascinates you the most?
In particular, I study the ancient mystery religions.
Okay.
Is my specializations.
Yeah.
I study the Eleusinian mysteries. I wrote many books about the Eleusinian mysteries. The Eleusinian tradition is my favorite field of study.
Nice. How could, if you had a student or a person that wanted to go down that avenue of learning, what advice would you give them?
We are students all our lives.
Yeah,
For all our life, we remain students because there's always something new to learn. In only one life, it's impossible to learn all. And we don't know what is all.
yeah. No, I totally agree. Um, I just, yeah, never stop learning. I mean, that would be my advice is just learn, learn, learn.
We must be curious.
Yeah.
Curiosity is life.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't ask questions, we are not alive.
Right. Yeah.
Always ask why happened this?
Yeah.
Why this things was made so?
Yeah.
Why the cat has 4 legs?
Yeah.
Why the cow eat grass? Nothing is stupid to question.
Yeah. No, the old saying here is there no question is a stupid question. So, where can I want to make sure that I leave the questions I've been wanting to ask. Want to make sure I leave room for you to promote anything that you have coming up. Is there any like events? Is there any things, projects in the works or endeavors that you'd like to share? Please do so.
I participate in many archaeological excavations when I was younger.
Nice.
I've been in Turkey, in Iran, in Greece, in Egypt. Now I don't travel so much because I have a very young daughter. In this period, I write many books.
Yeah.
And I have a YouTube channel.
Yes, that's correct.
Titled Nicola Bizzi Historie, with his Latin name, Nicola Bizzi Historie. And my publishing house, Edizioni Aurora Boreale, started also to publish in English. I publish about 7 of my books in English. I wrote about 45 books, but in English, I translate only 7 until today.
Nice.
I do what I
yeah.
for the discovery of the truth.
Yeah.
Is a small drop in the ocean.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Do you have any new books coming out that you're working on, or? Do you have any new books that are coming out?
Yes.
Okay.
Now I'm writing, just in these days, a book about giants.
Okay.
About the history of giants.
Nice.
And months ago, I published a very important book. Now is only in Italian. The title translated is From Tau Ceti to Atlantis. Tau Ceti is a star.
Okay.
Is the Tau star of the Cetus constellation.
Nice.
In this book, the subtitle is The Alien Dawn of Mankind. In this book, I write about the alien hypothesis of the origin of mankind. Maybe we can talk about it another time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd love to have you on again.
When you want.
Yeah, absolutely. When I'm glad you brought that up. So, all right. So, in a lot of the ancient astronaut theories, again, among archaeologists and researchers, discuss the possibility of alien life having to be involved with the helping of building these civilizations, or at least sharing knowledge of the knowledge they had. Do you believe in that? Do you think there's some truth to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The human real history is an alien history.
Yeah.
Ancient people probably were originally from alien civilizations. But in any case, they were in connection with an alien presence on Earth.
Yeah.
There are many proofs about it.
Yeah.
We speak about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We talk about it.
Sure. I'd like to think, in my opinion, that we would be naive as a human species today that to think that we are the only one in the entire universe that exists. Yeah. So.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
The universe is so big.
Yeah. I mean.
We are nothing.
Yeah.
For the universe.
Yeah.
We are a small piece of sand.
Right. So scientists are discovering big exoplanets that are a lot like Earth that can sustain life, and if they can sustain life, and they're discovering those now, like I can't imagine how many more there are out there, and how can you just say they're like this is it? Like no, I hate to feel like I have no human being that has no purpose. I think we have a purpose.
Yes.
The
first exoplanet were discovered just 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And now, in only 10 years, now we know about, I think, 600 exoplanets. Discovered only in 10 years.
Yeah.
Imagine in 1 century how many would be discovered.
Yeah. I mean, and then they even discovered a planet that had mostly water. There was very little land, and most of it was all water. And I'm like, it just amazes me how they can detect that.
I don't know.
I don't know how they do it.
I have to go now.
Okay. All right. No
yes.
Problem. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have to go.
Okay, no problem. We'll end the show now. It's not a big deal. That's what's great about producing your own podcast. You can do as long as an interview as you can, and I have no producers telling me when I can't do things. So, but it's been a pleasure interviewing you. I hope you had a lot of fun in the interview. I know I did. I learned a lot from your vast knowledge of what you wrote about, and I really appreciate you taking the time to accommodate your day to be on Out of This World podcast, and I hope you had a lot of fun.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. You take care. You take care of yourself.
I was so very glad to be here tonight. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, 100%.
I will send you later by mail some of my books.
Nice, I appreciate that. Yeah.
In EPUB.
Nice.
Yeah.
Autographed, I hope. Nice. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All this fascinates me, and I wish you well with all your future endeavors. Good luck on your new book, and I look forward to it when it comes out. And good luck to you with everything.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
And I say hello to all the followers of Out of This World podcast.
Thank you. Yep. All right. Take care of yourself. All right. We'll be in touch.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Yep. All right. All right, guys, that was Out of This. Guest was Out of This World. I'm going to just bear with me, guys. Here, we didn't do a full 2 hours, but that's okay. me bear with me here as there we go. All right, now it's just me. So I hope you guys enjoyed our guest. Nicola Bizzi was his name. He's an author and historian of ancient origins of the gods and ancient civilizations, and just his work is just amazing. You just got to go to ancient-origins.net.org. Sorry. I'll put all the links and information of his work in the description on the YouTube channel of this episode. We're live, so when it gets done processing, usually like within a 24-hour period, I will make sure I put all that information in there for everybody, so they can, learn where to get all that info. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Out of This World podcast. It was a special time. We started at 2 p.m. Eastern time today. It was 8 p.m. in Italy time. I want to thank Nicola for being a guest on this show. If anybody has any questions regarding the topics and things we discussed today, you can always email me at OOTW, it's Out of This World podcast show at gmail.com. So again, OOTW podcast show at gmail.com. All right. Guys, you can watch the show live at any time. We're live every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Real quick, next week, guys, we had rescheduled renowned psychic Patty Negri from Ghost Adventures TV series that's on Discovery Channel. I'm a fan of that show. I love that show. Very excited to have Patty Negri, renowned psychic medium. She's really great. I can't wait to interview her. That's going to be next week, July 17th. And then after that, actually going to be, I think the last week of July, going to be going on vacation. But I will have a guest the following week after Patty Negri. So let me look onto my schedule here real quick. We have Bill Blyer. We're going to have another historian on Out of This World podcast. He wrote about the Civil War, the Revolutionary War and the spy ring that took place here on Long Island. The Culper spy ring, which was, if you guys ever watch on the History Channel, the TV series Turn, was a great series. Historically factual, it was not. Other than the names of the people that were involved, yes, that was correct. But we're going to talk about what actually happened and transpired during the Long Island Revolutionary War spy ring, which actually helped George Washington win the Revolutionary War. It was a big deal. So there's a lot of history here regarding that time period. So I want to leave the show at the end here. Sorry that our guest had to abruptly leave. So we're going to have Patty Negri, renowned psychic medium from Ghost Adventures next week. I'm going to end the show here. And just guys, have a great rest of your week. And take care. Okay?